Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is advancing at a pretty quick pace. Not too long ago, I read a story about how the TSA is going to start accepting digital IDs that are being rolled out by Apple. Right? Now I come across a story or an article that says it's not only Apple that's putting out this digital ID, it's Google as well. I want you to understand that what this story is going to outline is exactly what I've been talking about in the past, how they're going to roll this out to the people. In addition to that, today we're going to talk about the line. You'll remember the line, that utopian paradise that Saudi Arabia started building, I think it was back in 2021 or so, where it was going to be able to take everyone from the cities and put them in a confined space so that they can save the world. Well, the line project has been halted, but I am very suspicious as to why. We'll get to those stories here in a minute. Let me remind you all that this Sunday we're going to have a Christmas lighting ceremony where I'm going to be giving away a few gifts. I'm going to be giving away some silver. And of course, we're going to light our Christmas, all right? Because it's Christmas time. I'm not sure if you've noticed. Hopefully they do this where you live. But when you turn the radio on, it's Christmas music 24/7 around here. And in case you have not entered, go check out this video right here, or here. I always forget where it appears. But that's the entry video for a chance to win 4 ounces of silver, ladies and gentlemen. And it's free to enter. All right, for those of you that don't know, Mondays are Silver Mondays on the AP channel all the way through the end of the year. And I give away silver on that video every Monday. So if you want to enter to win, it doesn't cost you anything. And hey, 4 ounces, that's a $200 bill. All right, who can't use that nowadays? And it's free. And one last thing that I forgot to mention. I mentioned it during yesterday's live stream, ladies and gentlemen. So if you didn't watch that live stream, at least watch the first half hour because there's some really important information about that Genesis Mission Executive Order that President Trump signed. But anyways, we have an awesome community. And one of our community members and his business partner sent me a cashier's check for $1,100 for me to hand over to Mrs. Ann from the Fairbanks Food Bank. I've always said, take care of your community first, and then after that, you can expand outward if you wish. So I want to say thank you very much to you. You know exactly who you are. I'm sure you want to be kept anonymous, but thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to help others when they're in need. Now let's talk about this TSA. Not too long ago, I was telling you all, hey, listen, they're going to roll out this digital ID and they're going to make it very convenient for you to use it and in ways inconvenient to you not to use it. And this says it all. The TSA confirms it. An iPhone or Android phone will be enough to pass through security checks at more than 250 airports, thanks to the new digital ID pass system. And here is how it works. The TSA is finally, listen to how they put this, because they want to ensure that people are propagandized into thinking this is a really good thing for you. And in the end, in my opinion, it's not going to be. The TSA is finally accepting that digitalization is the future. Now, at last, you will be able to carry your digital ID in Apple and Google at more than 250 security checkpoints across the country. And they are going to do everything in their power to make it as convenient as possible. That way people get used to using it and they're like, hey, this is great. This is saving me 3 minutes of standing in line. But wait, because there's more. The best part is that this measure arrives right before the chaotic travel season of the year in all airports. Christmas. And if you're wondering, yes, they promise calm, safety, and a much more smoother travel experience. After years of testing, Apple and Google allow you to create a digital ID based on your passport and show it with a couple of taps. And according to what early travelers say, it works fast, it works well, and best of all, it respects your privacy, ladies and gentlemen. Do you really think that it respects your privacy? Well, I'm going to be putting up a second video later on today that shows you that there is no privacy, that even where you think that there is none. For many, going through TSA was the most chaotic moment in airports, standing in line for a while, waiting for the coworker to check your passport, and finally being allowed to pass. Well, TSA wants an end to that now. And you, ladies and gentlemen, are the ones that are going to control how it works. You're in control 100%. You will not have to leave any of your paperwork in a tray or show it several times until now, because you will validate everything from your own device. So understand that you are in total control of this system. They're putting it in your hands, and they're allowing you to have total control over this and your privacy. So go ahead and download your digital ID and start using it and get used to it. That way, when our CBDC or digital currency comes out, you'll be one step ahead of everyone else. All the verification happens inside the phone, which is completely private, of course. There are no screens showing your personal data, and the agents don't even have to touch it. You bring the phone close, the information is validated, and that's it. That sounds kind of familiar. Have any of you seen the videos coming out of China?
Hey, where's Face? Facial recognition payment is so convenient in China. Scan your face, click to confirm it's you, and grab your purchase.
Chinese facial recognition is scary. Look at this. You're checking your flights at the airport. This will pop up, and you can scan your face, and then it will just tell you flight ticket and name is there for everybody to see.
And here is what you gain from getting a digital ID. Basically, you will spend less time at the checkpoint, and there will be less possibility that someone can impersonate and digital ID. Also, now that Christmas is coming and we all want to go home to be with family, TSA is going to put it to the test to see how the system works under pressure and what adjustments will be needed to extend it nationwide. You understand this? They are going to extend this nationwide. So anyone that wants to travel from one state to the other right now, they're going to have to show their real ID, not necessarily a digital ID, but they're going to make it a lot easier for you to get through with your digital ID. And if you don't even have a real ID, you can still get through, but it's going to take a lot longer because they're going to have to validate all of the paperwork that you have to ensure that you are who you say you are. Now, is this a safety thing? Well, ladies and gentlemen, ask yourselves. Years ago, I think it was maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I put out a video showcasing that I think it was the Homeland Security did a test where they sent out a whole bunch of agents going through TSA checkpoints that had hidden weapons on them. And out of all of them, TSA only captured or caught 5% of the ones that were trying to get through. And they're telling you right to your face, there is still time before physical identification disappears completely. But both Apple and Google have made it clear that their transition is already underway. And for those of us who are a bit forgetful with documents, this is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing if you forget your documents because you'll have your digital ID. They're going to make it very convenient at first. They're going to bend over backwards to ensure that you have a great experience with this thing that they will eventually use as a control measure. And history tells us, ladies and gentlemen, that eventually the people will go along with it because they will be given no other choice. And how long have they been working on this? Well, Apple at least has been working on this for the last 4 to 5 years, since 2021. Remember what was happening in 2021 and how there was a big push for digital IDs or digital passports? Well, they've been working on it since then, and they're going to start capitalizing off of it now. You know something that I do with my coffee in the morning? I put a little bit of half and half in it, but I also put a tiny bit of vanilla extract, pure vanilla extract. Man, ladies and gentlemen, good stuff, all right? There's your tip or your hint of the day, whatever you want to call it. Now let's talk about this line. The fact that Saudi Arabia stopped construction of the line of their utopian city of the future is not really what I want to cover on this. Yes, it's a fact that they stopped, but what I wanted to talk about is why did they stop? So for those of you that don't know what the line was, it's just some utopian city design where they were going to be able to push a whole bunch of people into this line, into a city that extended, I think, like 1,700 kilometers or so, leaving the vastness of nature to its own and confining people to this small area. Well, they started constructing this, I believe, also back in 2021. And the reason they're saying they stopped is because of money. But that makes zero sense to me. And I think there's an alternative motive behind why they stopped. Saudi Arabia had a dream, a bit crazy, but still a dream. They wanted to create the Line, a futuristic city in the middle of the desert. It was called the Line because it was literally going to be about 170 kilometers of pure technology. So I was a little bit off by about a factor of 10, 170 kilometers, not 1,700. And as you can see, we are speaking in the past tense because after 3 years since its presentation, the NEOM project, which is what it was called, does not seem to have enough funds. That's the key right there. It doesn't have enough funds to carry out its super city of the future. Now, when I read that line, I started wondering, Saudi Arabia doesn't have enough funds? Because this project was to cost between like 500 billion and $1 trillion. They don't have enough funds to fund that. So why all of a sudden did they stop? You see, what this line represents to me, or the construction of it represents to me, it was a way to control the population, to put them in a small confined space and be able to control them with technology. So why all of a sudden is that no longer a priority to them? They could build this thing, they could leave nature to heal itself, like they were saying, and they can control the people within it. Well, maybe it's because they've found a new measure of control that not only is it a lot more profitable, because it won't cost that much to build and maintain, but that will give them even more control than they had with the Line. And ladies and gentlemen, I understand some of you are sitting there, man, AP, you're such a conspiracy theorist. But take a look at all of the conspiracies of the past and see how they've turned out to be reality today. The initial budget was $1 trillion, but the initial phase of NEOM has already consumed more than $50 billion. But for Saudi Arabia, I don't think $1 trillion is too much. They're probably understated as being one of the richest countries, if not the richest country in the world. And when I read that $1 trillion price tag on the Line, I remember seeing something where the Prince of Saudi Arabia came to the White House to talk to President Trump and said that he was going to pledge, Saudi Arabia was going to pledge to the United States up to $1 trillion, between $600 billion and $1 trillion in order to assist with AI infrastructure. So I went ahead and searched, how much money did Saudi Arabia pledge to invest in the United States AI infrastructure? Saudi Arabia pledged nearly $1 trillion in investment into the U.S., with a major focus on artificial intelligence infrastructure alongside nuclear energy. Why? Because AI needs a lot of energy, defense, and other strategic sectors. So why did they give up their dreams on the Line where they can control a portion of the population by sticking them in this utopian city, and now are instead taking that $1 trillion that they would have invested in that city and then investing it here in the United States? Why, ladies and gentlemen? How many more people can you control with AI, with digital IDs, digital driver's license, digital money, etc., than you can control in a confined space? We are being pushed into what I would call a digital prison, somewhere where you will only be able to do what they allow you to do. Why? Because almost everything that we do, ladies and gentlemen, think about it, has an impact on the economy. We have to transact with the economy in one way or another. You want to go to work, you need a car, or you need transportation, you need to pay for it. You want to eat, unless you're 100% self-sustainable, which means you grow 100% of your food, you don't have to buy any fertilizer, you don't have to buy anything from the economy. You still need to go out. If you're not 100% self-sufficient, you still need to go out and interact with the economy. Much easier to control a population digitally in the days that we live and are headed toward than to confine them to a space. That's why I believe that they stopped construction of the line, because it's not about saving the planet. It's about controlling the planet's population. And what easier way to control it than with a digital currency and a digital ID? I can't think of another. And having said that, let me go ahead and end it for now. I'm going to be putting out a second video later on today. A couple of other, in my opinion, really good stories that is not being talked about, but people should know about them. Have a great rest of your day. Hope to see you later on. God bless every one of you. God bless America. I love you all. I'm Alaska Prepper. I'm out.